More medications, less health. Something's broken. Traditional medicine manages symptoms, but true healing addresses root cause. I'm Josh Rimini, pharmacist turned healer. At Beyond the Pills, we merge ancient wisdom with modern-day science to inspire you through stories of transformation, practical trainings, and holistic healing. Join me and other practitioners as we guide you towards vibrant health, body, mind, and spirit, and move beyond symptom management into true healing. Hello. Welcome back to Beyond the Pills. I'm Josh Rimini, your host, pharmacist, and turned healer. And today's guest, we share some common bonds. And Dr. Hamad Shirazi is a holistic chiropractor, a movement specialist, and nervous system-based healing practitioner dedicated to helping people heal, grow, and reconnect with their bodies. He earned his Doctor of Chiropractic from Life University, a master's degree in exercise physiology from the University of Miami, and a bachelor's in exercise and sports science from the University of Georgia. With over a decade of experience as a personal trainer and a holistic health practitioner, Dr. Hamad blends chiropractic care, integrative movement, breath work, and lifestyle medicine to support true healing from the inside out. His work is rooted in aligning the body, calming the nervous system, and reconnecting people to the fundamentals of health, breath, movement, and presence, so they can restore vitality, enhance performance, and become the strongest and most authentic version of themselves. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hamad.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh.
We instantly connected when we had our little connection call a couple weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, this is the perfect time to have this conversation because... So let's just start with you. Let's just start, what originally called you to just chiropractic care and holistic healing?
Well, the chiropractic care took some time to find me. When I was a baby turning into, a young child, I naturally gravitated towards athletics. Very important for me to use my hands and my mind, and I naturally had a spiritual and philosophical nature as well, just in my upbringing. For me, it was always about, okay, how do I become the best I can be from a athletic performance standpoint and also an intelligence standpoint. That was rooted in my nature just through childhood. And I think my desire for athletics naturally led me into more of a approach involving fitness.
Yeah, we had talked a lot about that. How do you sort of your life story kind of brought you down that holistic path in a natural way? And I think a lot of the stories we have on this show are from that synchronistic perspective, right? Like things happen and lead you towards that thing. So you've studied exercise science, physiology, chiropractic medicine. At what point did you realize that, like, where did the true healing part come from beyond the mechanics and the adjustments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we're here to talk about. It's like going beyond these modalities and moving into these true healing modalities.
I would say what really drew me in was my own pain and adversity that I had to overcome from a young age. And another pivotal part of my training was in the Czech Institute and exploring many different modalities in healing and movement and holistic health. I have those degrees, but I often say most of my training came from experience and overcoming adversity, as well as helping others through overcoming their challenges and achieving their goals.
Well, talk a little bit about that, because I think that's the story of transformation that we keep talking about and we keep moving towards. Is like, I always said this because I've trained a lot of practitioners, especially pharmacists, because that's where my background came from, is like, it's kind of this philosophy of like, do you first, right? It's like, you don't go to school to be a wellness guru and a healer, right? We go to school to go to chiropractic care because we want to help people, or we go to pharmacy school or medical school because we want to help people. But then we start to realize a lot of the practitioners that I know that have moved towards this healing perspectives, we go to school to help people, but then we get out into the world and we truly feel like we're not really helping them because there's systematic things that are kind of tying our hands to what we really thought we could do. But talk to people about your personal story and how this kind of unfolded for you, because I think 100% of these conversations for me is always rooted around the healer, their wounded healer's journey. Like they've healed themselves, and then it crosses over into what you do for others.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. I would say, and then going through childhood, what happened for me, which now with the awareness that I've learned throughout my story and that inner work to understand myself, when I was 12 years old, I grew up in Atlanta. 9/11 was a global event that took place. And with my background and upbringing, there was a collective shift. And I realized that's when my energy started to constrict. I remember that's when I started to lose my vision a little bit. I was a basketball player. I started to get heel pain, and I started to have all these physical ailments that before I didn't have. And I think with the awareness and knowledge I have now is I was embodying a lot of emotional pain and suffering that I did not know how to regulate, how to process. I wasn't able to articulate and share what was going on within. And I took to working out, athletics over time to process my emotions without the understanding of a holistic approach, balance, alignment, technique with strength training, recovery, rest, and all the elements of health and well-being, which is the physical, the emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic, environmental, social aspects. And I think throughout the course of my life, I've learned the importance of the integration and the harmony within all those facets.
Yeah, I think that's so much. I think that's really the key element of the what I believe modern medicine is moving towards, right? We've gotten to this place of connecting all of aspects of life, really, right? You talked about the lifestyle components, the holistic component, the body mind connection, the energetics, the soul level. All of this matters as it relates to our health and well being, right? All of it. And I think I love having these conversations with practitioners that have moved beyond like the body. But, let's talk about returning to the body in this way, right? Is you've talked a lot about helping people reconnect to their bodies, right? And so why are so many people disconnected from their bodies today? This is something that I've been working on myself personally over the last couple of years, is the embodiment practices and really going back into this. So I want you to get your take on this, because you've gone the holistic route, but you've also gone the chiropractic route. So you understand that there is this deep connection between the two. But I want your opinion on this.
Yeah, and I would say it's multifactorial, just like everything else. I think the way that our society is now, it's all an outside in approach.
Hmm.
It's constantly seeking outward. I've learned in my own process and in supporting others that we would want more of an inside out approach. So connecting with self, connecting with the breath. Let's say, even from a training example, start with body weight, start with breath, start with foundational movement practices. Then let's move into weight training, all the stimulus, all these intense exercises. And it's a fundamental shift in the mindset and philosophy as far as beginning in the moment with your breath, even from the core, right? Rather than like train your shoulder, start with your deep core. And those are just some examples.
You think it's is it that simple? Like people just don't realize, like they don't pay attention to their bodies, they're just almost on autopilot sometimes.
Yeah, I think that throughout life, we're so focused on everything outside, the stress to survive, maybe financial stress, to become, to live up to, family standards and societal standards, and this constant outward seeking that we lose track of where we are. And then honestly, all the things that I've learned, they actually are quite simple, but we weren't taught. It would if it wasn't for all the things I went through and my strong desire to seek knowledge and seek the truth and figure out what works, I wouldn't have came across any of this information that I share with people now. And what I've really learned in my niche is simplification and clarity and understanding to break things down. So you're not just doing things uh, on autopilot. You're very in tune. You're very intentional.
Yeah, I think intentionality is another concept and another thought-provoking idea of like moving, the in my experience with embodiment practices and breath and like just mindful movement, I guess is the best way I say it, is it really is about being present, slowing down, getting out of the monkey mind to just be where you are right now. Right. And I think embodiment is like, where are you sitting? Where's your body? How do you feel right now? Right. And I think a lot of people we forget, right? It's like one of those things is like, especially when we're stuck on one of these all day and all of a sudden we've lost connection with our own bodies, with our own components. And so talk a little bit about how you got there. Like how did the chiropractor turn into the embodiment guy who's learning about breath and all these other things? Because I want to hear a little bit more depth on that in your story because it's so compelling for other people to realize. We talk about it a lot, you, me, and other people. Is like we teach through our experience now, right? You've gone through this journey because you had talk a little bit like that. What do you think's underneath your desire to learn and grow more? Because this is kind of where your path has brought you. You're doing retreats. It's not just like the clinic care anymore.
Yeah, I'm sharing, through this conversation more chronologically. So going through the
Yeah.
steps. So I kind of shared about childhood and up until that point, my desire for, fitness and athletics and be a great basketball player. My father is a cardiologist. I grew up in a household that really prioritized education and, intelligence. I really wanted to be better and I wanted training. My father said, okay, I found a local LA Fitness. I was like, can I get a membership and a personal trainer? And he said, if you study the personal training manual to become one, I'll get you one. So at the age of
Mm.
15, I was studying bodybuilding, strength and conditioning, and I became very like obsessed with it. Right. So I started doing the traditional bodybuilding to progress through that story. By the time I was 18 years old, 17, 18, I had chronic pain in my like chest wall, ribs, shoulder. So I was playing basketball, a little bit of tennis, golf, a little bit of football, lifting weights, and just overactive to some extent. And I didn't understand. All I needed was a practitioner like myself, as far as like some chiropractic care, bringing balance and harmony, and then being very technique oriented. I think most people now are training in a dysfunctional way, meaning the exercises that they are doing, seeking health and well being, is actually creating more dysfunction and dis-ease within the body. And I think that my story was more of a guinea pig. I went through all of these and I had to do a lot of unlearning and reprogramming to get to the place that I am now.
Talk talk a little bit more about that. Give out maybe some specifics that people can relate to. Like they might be thinking because it's a great point. Like we do a lot of things in the intention or the ethics of helping ourselves. Like I'm gonna eat right. I'm gonna exercise, but exercise is a big bucket. Like
Yeah.
exercise, and then you can say exercise and movement is a big bucket. So give some specific examples from your experience or from clients and patients you've seen is like, what would some things that people think they're doing right for their health, but might need to think about it from a different lens?
I could share so many different pieces, but I'll just begin with, okay, let's say in the gym, a lot of people train body parts in like a building fashion. It's not really neurologically integrated. And sometimes you're becoming less of a functional human being. So I started in the bigger, faster, stronger program and then was doing a lot of like, bench press, let's just say. We just want a great bench press. When you're lying down or you're not fully integrated or using your core, you are going to create a discrepancy. Uh, so the way that we would want to train is that our core and all our muscles are in balance when we're doing these movements. So, to the extent you are strengthening the pieces of yourself without strengthening the whole and your core, which is a stabilizing system, you are creating dysfunction, which down the line can lead to joint pain, spinal degeneration, and all sorts of, musculoskeletal challenges, which, as we know, the body as a whole, everything's integrated. So even musculoskeletal challenges can down the line contribute to other health uh, challenges.
No, I love that the lens in which you're saying that, because a lot of the times we talk about that in like in other aspects of our health, like the part is the whole, treat the body as a whole, right? And holistic health, body, mind, spirit, soul, energy, all together at the same time. But I think what I'm hearing you say is like, even in the movement and exercise piece, is looking at it from the lens of whole balancing, whole movement, where you're focusing not just on the part, but everything is connected, kind of like the fascia. It's just everything is connected. And so what might somebody do? Because this is going to air in the beginning of 2026. This is the time where people are, right at the time of trying to do things healthy for them, like that intentionality of the new year and the new cycle. So is this part of how you practice with your clients and stuff like that? Or what are some resources we can think about as we're moving into the new year as it relates to this kind of holistic movement and exercise?
Yeah, I think even throughout this conversation, I could share some of the foundational pieces. When I begin with a client doing the intro consult, I take more of a holistic primary care provider role, right? Looking at the whole. And then I primarily show up checking the spine, the nervous system, and the neuromusculoskeletal system. So also how the brain connects with the body, joint range of motion, spinal range of motion. And I am trained as a health detective. So when I, through a conversation and a connection with someone, I'll do a breath, posture, gait, mobility, movement assessment. And then I also go through flexibility and joint as well as the spinal evaluation within a short period of time, and quite quickly I can see where one may uh, be out of balance and alignment, and then I may provide some support with muscle work, stretching, and chiropractic adjustments, and then instantaneously after that we upgrade the system with neuromuscular education. So from that evaluation I see what does that person need right now to upgrade their system. So then we would start there. So breathing, I really value balance, simple as balance. And then let's learn how to walk and reconnect with our feet. And just the most fundamental movement that a human performs is walking after we learn to crawl. So a lot of times we just need to get back and restore from infant development. And through that process and returning back to balance, then we can start to explore, performance-based training, athletic-based training, and more of the uh, outside elements. Does that make sense? So it's basically starting the inside out, because if you don't have a solid foundation, whatever you're doing, it's not going to be the most efficient. You have energy leaks. So we want to basically seal and solidify the foundation first.
No, it does. I love I love hearing these things from different people, different healers' perspectives, because you're coming from the energetic side of things and stopping the gaps and the holes from the physical realm into the energetic realm. And I've heard it from the other side too, because there's no wrong or right. It's just like, where do you focus and how do you improve? And like you said, where's the upgrade come from, right? Where's the download and the upgrade come from? And so you're assessing the physical realm and moving it towards and applying it to the energetics, which is awesome, because I think a lot of the energetic healers work in the energy fields, which then downstream affect the physical body. So it's kind of like it's a both and, right? It's never a or, it's just an and it's like hearing it from this perspective is so it's unique to me because I hear it in different ways and it's like, oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like if you don't get your core ready, we can't do the rest of it. It's similar to me like talking about, balancing hormones. It's like, well, if I can't get your stress and your resilience in a better place, the other stuff won't matter, right? As much, because we try to go to the end thing like sports performance, but you're like, let's see how we can get you to walk the way you should, and and to get those core back into balance. Like you said, how important is just simple balance in
Yeah.
somebody's we talk about balancing, right? Balancing body, mind, energetics, but physical balance is so important to the rest of the equation. I'm glad that you're bringing the simplicity out. Simple doesn't always make it easy, but it makes it to where we can start focusing, because I love wellness made simple. Like if we can start with the simple things first, it's like the 80-20 rule just goes in the right way. You don't even have you allow the body to do what it's supposed to do. So you teach people from the very beginning of your client journey. What I'm hearing is you're teaching them those fundamentals on a more robust level so they get the rest of it down the road.
Yes. And to be fair, I wanted to address some of the points. I have aspired to have like simplicity because I think that is correlates with wisdom. The simpler you can break it down, the more digestible. And essentially, in the way that I practice, there's also an art. I'm all about meeting someone where they're at, where their level of consciousness is. And for the sake of this introductory conversation that we're having, I'm breaking it down in a simple, more neuromusculoskeletal platform. But everything that I do is carrying energy. And essentially, by me keeping my vessel clear and clean with positive intention with everyone that I'm working with, I'm also very much inclined on the spiritual and energetic level when I'm working with someone. That is all going into my receptivity with listening and connecting. So whenever I work with someone, I say, heart, head, and hands is how I serve, because I'm really just keeping my energy clear to serve and support them. And that involves, the energetics. And I think that my primary role is to help people clear that energy within themselves through simple foundational embodiment practices, because the body is a reflection of the mind, and this is our vessel for the spiritual path.
I love this because that's the essence of the conversations that I continue to have, is the intersection of science and spirituality. Like not treating them as an or. Like we're at the stage of human development and our own health care system into this healing space converges the two. Like you said, you're working on it on a fundamental level and you're taking people where they're at, and you're also using the lens of a healer, the lens of an energy healer, where you're taking that, but you're holding space. I love helping with heart-centered, right? We're connecting these things together in a way that is your version of whole care, not saying, well, we're going to separate your body from the energetics and the spiritual of it. We're going to recognize it and honor it and take you where you're at, but let's not discount it as, oh, it's a thing over there. We'll deal with that later. It's like, no, it's like we're dealing with it right now because you do this for this and you do this for this, which makes it this. And the and approach for people that are just listening, not watching, like it's the fusion of, you can call it energetics or spirituality. It doesn't matter what you call it there, but it's that fusion of both together that I feel is the catalyst for what we're talking about here, which is moving towards this healing perspective.
Exactly. And also honoring each one of our unique paths.
Yes.
I think it's very important. And I've learned this. Most of what I speak about it was through my own experiences. I didn't come out the womb speaking and understanding things this way. I have learned the hard way with most of these elements. I think I went through life very fast, very fiery and a passionate individual. And I think, I've burned myself out. I have overtrained. I've learned through experience the elements of grace, the elements of patience, the elements of yin versus yang, and also understanding working in versus working out, and finding balance and harmony in all of these elements.
So true. And so important in this day and age is, I think I love where this is going. And I love these conversations because sometimes you never know where they go. But like what you also touched on is the story of transformation, of healing, is nobody heals because it's easy, right? There is no easy button to healing. Like it's our journey, our story. You're the guide in the story. I'm the guide in their journey. But it is the essence of this, is like, I think getting people prepared to go on their journey and taking part in that is so important, because we've been trained, we've been programmed, like part of our experience they call it the shamanic journey or the wounded healer's journey, where you've gone through your series of deaths, if you will, and you've rebirthed yourselves many times. And there's a calling to that. The spiritual side of that is not everybody becomes a healer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like advertise you're a healer. You just are. Because you hold that space and that energy in a container, and your vessel is clear, like you said. These are the pieces where I think we're getting ready to understand. Like, when I've always heard this in a certain way, and it always resonates with me. It's like, when it's the hardest, it matters the most. Your healing journey, your lessons you learned didn't come from a book. It didn't come from being on vacation and understanding the power of the energetics of the universe. It's like, no, you had to go through your journey to learn patience, to learn receptivity, to learn these things as you're growing. So I love hearing that in you and through your story, because I think like with the pill for the ill or easy food, like all of that it's attractive it's attractive to think about, but it's really not reality. When people want to heal, there's work, and sometimes that work is difficult, but coming up against it and through it is what we're talking about, is moving through that and coming on the other side, because the other side is where the gold is, right? So thank you for bringing that and enlightening people in your way.
Yeah, thank you. And I've been through, I would say, a few dark nights of the soul and those rebirths. And you know what? Even let's say where you and I, and we've had a great conversation and we saw parallels in our story, we're still going through it. Another piece that I would definitely want the listeners to, be reminded of is it never ends. There is no I have arrived. And I think to maintain that curious mind and to understand life is about learning and experiencing and growing, and that trajectory, I think, continues. And we become more resilient as we go through this evolution. And that is my primary focus, is to help educate and empower and serve in a way that honors each one of our journey. We don't need to be perfect. It's just about incremental progress. We fluctuate with seasons of our life. And sometimes that's why I'm so focus on the foundations, because we can, have a season where we're super healthy, and then we deal with maybe some trauma, and then we kind of lose those elements. And what I was actually sharing with a friend the other day is, let's say that in the holiday season we were eating a lot of junk food, we were not taking as great care of ourselves, and then we want to go super hard now. And what I was advising was, hey, like, that's bringing the past into the present. Just live in the moment and get back to those foundations and take it one day at a time, and your body will naturally recalibrate and detoxify. I think a lot of times we go into extremes. That's the current like narrative in our society, is like we just live in extremes. And sometimes it's about the middle way and finding that balance. So it's like, we're coming out the holiday season, maybe we haven't been all on our P's and Q's with the gym and exercise and all these elements, but hey, just let's get back to the basics little by little, and then we can continue. And that is also less stressful to our system.
Yeah, and it's a great reminder, right? What you said is this. I just have this like vision of like the balancing board, right? It's like if you're on this extreme and you move over and you try to get onto this extreme, you're literally teeter-totting like this the whole time, right? And so it's like, but if you can think about it and you imagine yourself up here, but you move closer slowly towards the middle, now you're balanced more, you're balancing, because we're never in balance, to be honest. We're always balancing something. And
Yes.
so I use the word balancing more than I need to get to a place where I feel in balance. It's like, I love what you said, and I've used this quite a bit, is like, when you understand that the journey never ends and it's okay, like, there is a point of arrival there, right? Where you're like, hey, my journey is forever, and I'm good with that because the journey is forever. And I'm every moment of the wave, because there is seasons, and moving it back into that. Let's get our fundamentals, let's get our core, let's go back to where it's kind of like in meditation, right? When you notice your mind wandering, you get to the attention that you bring it. Okay, my mind's wandering and I'm back to center, right? It's like moving back to center in a physical way to get people to remind, like, hey, we all, who doesn't kind of lax a little bit in the holidays, they're out of season, they're doing something, they have cookie or whatever, like, doesn't matter. It matters like when you go back into the level of those incremental moments, which make sense that they all add up. And it's not this one big, like, oh, I'm going to do the 75 hard on January 1st, when I'm probably not prepared, because there's a failure rate to that, which then becomes a downward cycle and then all this stuff. It's like, let's not beat each other up, but let's not ignore the fact that we also have work to do, right?
Yeah, and in my evolution as a practitioner and personally, is I've really been exploring the psyche and consciousness more.
Mhm.
And that's at the root of everything. And even our experience, our presence, and how we connect to that is the breath. And that's why I'm always like, we just connect with our breath. We will connect more with our sense of self and higher consciousness, which will guide us to making more conscientious choices. So sometimes it is that simple, because it's like, let's say when I meet someone, I'll share, if you just master the breath and presence, you will be guided into the best outcomes for you, and maybe with the least amount of, you know, veering off the path. And at the end of the day, too, it's all good. And when we have that fundamental understanding and beliefs that everything is happening for us and our soul's evolution, and having that sense of, surrender and trust and peace. It's a game changer.
And I had to learn it my way, right? It's like we all have to learn it like through it's so fun to listen to the stories because of the common threads that they carry. Like every story, every journey, every surrender is unique, yet the formula seems to have those cohesive spaces like surrender, like understanding in a fundamental. I love exploring my consciousness and growth and becoming more whole to me was like moving towards something that you resonate towards with love, with self fullness. So you're not selfishly doing it. I went on a huge surrender experiment a year and a half ago. Like it took me to Peru and Costa Rica, everywhere, learning from different healers. And I came back a completely different human, like biologically too. Like I literally tested things. My brain waves were different. Like the analytical in me had to do those things,
Yeah.
but it didn't matter because I just needed to see it from that lens. What I felt like was fully authentic, more authentic human, like my best self I've ever been because I went on the journey. I didn't I didn't go on the journey and say I'm going here. This is what I'm going to do. It's like no, I had an intention. And then everything I love the synchronicity of the breadcrumbs just fall in front of you as you keep aligning with what resonates or what lifts you up versus the things that take you away. And so your story got you to where you are today. And my story got me to where I am today because truthfully, we went on the journey. Like we're not passive in our own experience. So thank you for bringing it into your light, in our light, because like I said, it is the journey, not the destination. And when you understand this and you continuously understand it, it just gets deeper. It doesn't get any better. It just gets a deeper, more leveled understanding of holy moly, things are way more than I thought when you start working on that inside stuff. So um let's kind of shift into that space. Like we talked about fundamentals over the fads, and moving from that perspective and where people can come back into their own balance. Um, but you are starting to do like you've done more immersive retreats and healings and things like that. Tell people a little bit about like I'm a big fan of going to retreats in these respects where you're going in with some level of an intention to heal and you're working through this process, whether it's a weekend or a week long. But the more I've done those in a really, I call it, it's just kind of like, you know, you can brush your teeth every day with breath work or doing the fundamentals, but then you got to go to the dentist and get a deep cleaning every 3 to 6 months, right? So these retreats for me serve as that sort of deep cleaning for my soul and my body. But you're doing those now. We shared a common thread where you're like, yeah, I'm doing one in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm like, one of my favorite places is where I grounded in my own healing journey. So you've got some events coming up. Tell people a little bit of, we'll get to the links and where they can go to find them, but like, what's the process you bring people through in these kind of retreats? Because I think when you learn from experience where you're the best way I've learned in these growth cycles and these healing ways is to intentionally go and unplug and just do what you're supposed to do, slowing down, getting the noise out of your day-to-day life. The immersive stuff is so much more impactful because you're literally experiencing it in real time. So talk to people about your way of doing that.
Yeah, and to piggyback off what you were mentioning, sometimes we need a pattern interrupt. And when we just take a break from our current environment and the current day to day, we go somewhere and we have an immersive experience. There's so many elements that I see bringing value where you're growing your community, the connection with others, And from a professional standpoint, I absolutely love collaborating with other professionals and curating unique experiences. Every workshop, retreat, continuing education that I have been a part of, I have always had a unique and special experience and takeaway. So when you have that immersive experience, you can really recalibrate, recenter yourself. And for me, as a practitioner or facilitator, I'm looking to develop practical ways for people to incorporate it then and to take home with them. So, what I offer in some of these retreats is usually a little bit of an interactive, fun workshop where we're really getting connected with our breath, body. It's almost like, a first session with me. Then, so we have a little bit of mental simulation and in a fun way, like a engaging learning session. Then I usually will have the individual one-on-one chiropractic fused with the coaching sessions for each participant, and then followed by functional movement and functional strength training. So the way I look at it is we're learning with our mind, we're receiving some support and care and a treatment, and then we put it into effect individually with functional movement and training. So it's not just talking about it, it's not just receiving something, you're actually also participating. So for me, that is the holistic approach to upgrade one system. And then my desire is in those one-on-one coaching sessions, I actually provide like a practical step for them to take home with, their brushing of their teeth. So it's not just like a retreat because what happens a lot of times is, and people will say, "Oh, I go to a retreat, then I come back and I go right back into
Yeah.
the same process." But the goal is to have a transformative experience and then continue to have that thread of connection for me, but then also the ones they make with each other so that now we evolve and then we grow and we integrate.
Well, and I think that's what's been coming up for me for especially recently since we're literally in the precipice of launching the Beyond the Pills community because we want community. I feel like is that piece that gets sort of forgotten in the healing and lifestyle journey, right? Is like community matters. Like the people that I've met in the places that I've gone in my own healing journey are like my most real friends, right? They're the people that like we go through these journeys together and you're there kind of learning from each other, but you're also supporting each other in a natural way, which is so beautiful. Like the people I've met in Peru and Costa Rica and all the places I've gone in the different communities that I've sort of allied to, they're just, we're so close now. It's because of that shared connection point, right? And in this day and age, I feel like we've lost a lot of connection. We've lost a lot of trust because there's a lot of inauthenticity. And that's why I think also these immersive experiences, you unplug, you're recalibrating, and you've solved some of the issues I think a lot of people have when they go on retreat. They come straight back and they get hit with the whirlwind of life. And it's like almost automatic because the brain has been trained. Like, yes, it's easy to unplug when you're unplugged. But then when you come back and it's like, I have to be really intentional with this. And like, so I love how you like giving people those tools, the Monday morning toolkit, right? It's like, oh, don't forget this. There's integration that happens, whether you call it in any immersive experience through plant medicine, meditation, retreats, breath work. There's always the after, which is the integration back into your life. And I think to me, that's where the sticky is. That's the piece that we less emphasize, but when we put more emphasis there with the right, and that's all again learned through experience, but that's the piece that we can support people with, which is where I think where a lot of the intangibles come from. So thanks for enlightening us into that space.
Yeah, thank you. And that's to circle back to our previous points is, hey, it's all part of the journey. And it's really about momentum.
Well, and I think there's a shamanic piece to this that I've learned through my shamanic energy trainings and the healers is, just hearing you laugh about that, like that lightness to the journey is so needed, right? When, you know, my version of self-care is simple, easy, lucrative, which means it's very valuable to you, and fun. Like, we have to make sure that we lighten up some of this because it can be heavy, right? We're going in to do deep work and things of that nature, but there's this element of how do we make the growth work fun? It's through those connection points. It's through those, places where we can share our experiences around a table and around healthy, energetic, good foods and things of that nature. Because you can get lost in the heaviness of all that. So for me, I love when we can also put a little element of fun and lightness into the equation because it's necessary, right? Laughter is healing. So
And that vibrational saying, that's something that I've learned. And, reconnecting, I think it's really important. I often say I keep my inner child, the adult, like the warrior energy that, like wanting to go build, create, and the wise elder integrated within me. And the boy in me is always laughing, being silly, having fun. So I can get as deep, esoteric, philosophical, intellectual, but at the end of the day, we want to have that lighthearted energy and making sure that we're not taking things too seriously because there's a certain energy behind that as well. Staying relaxed and lighthearted, which really helps us to diffuse some of that stickiness or the heavy energy.
yeah, and it's all about energy movement, right? And so we got to move the energies. We got to it's not just like releasing it because it's stuck and it's bad. It's just energy.
Yeah.
And when we can look at it from that perspective and be reminded, because we're humans, right? We're divine beings living a human experience, but we're humans. Like we will go in different directions because our minds will do that. That's why we have this big, beautiful prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
Um, so where you're doing some retreats, you and I share some love for Asheville, North Carolina. It's one of my favorite places. You're doing, I think is that in March? You're doing a retreat.
Yes, we're doing a release and flow retreat in Asheville, March 6th through the 8th. It's just a weekend retreat, and we're collaborating with a few different practitioners.
Very cool. We'll have to check that out. Where do people go to get more information on this type of stuff?
I think if you just tag, my social media and website, because I'm involved and I collaborate with a few different practitioners. So I have another retreat coming up as well. I'll send out information on my newsletter as well as my social media. I'll be posting.
Okay. And you're at Dr. Hamad Shirazi, right?
Yes, for Instagram. That's probably the social media tool I utilize most. I like to, keep it simple myself as well and stay present. But I think it's great to also have that connection.
Yeah, we connected through a mutual friend Tara, who helps with our podcast, because you guys met in Belize, and that's the other retreat you guys you're doing. You're collaborating. I'm almost there. I'll be there soon. I was invited to do the wellness retreat in Belize and just see what it was like. But that one's coming up in April, right? That's a week long.
That's a week long, and that's gonna be, the idea is heal the healer within, and then our tagline is embody, restore, integrate. So a lot of what we were speaking about, and that's a truly immersive experience and an incredible environment. Just to have those opportunities to build community, and life is so amazing, and we're constantly showered with blessings when we're open to it. And even meeting Sarah, or connecting with you, and learning more about you. Even as you were sharing earlier, I was like, I can't wait till we hang out and share stories, because when we had that initial conversation, even just some of the parallels is not. It's so amazing to see when we share stories and when we can learn from one another. and grow and connect. So that's a lot of what I've been calling in is, a community where we can learn from, but also just genuinely enjoy spending time together.
Yeah, and I think that's when it doesn't become work, right? It's like that we connected through someone because we were open and receptive. You could have said no to go to Belize, and then you wouldn't have met these cool people.
Yeah.
When Tara came back, I was supposed to go, but I had other things I had to do, and I'll be going because I have another date that I can set. But it's like she came back, she was just like, they all like resonate like you, Josh. Like they're all like just even some people like sounded like you. It's just there was this energy around all the people there because everyone got along, even though they didn't like all meet each other. So Belize has been on my list. You're gonna do an immersive experience. You also have a website, right? I think it's coachshirazi.com.
Yes.
Okay, so people can get a hold of you if they want to like learn more or become a client or see what you're about. Or you do discovery sessions and stuff like that because everybody does.
Yeah. So you could, subscribe to my newsletter, send me a message there, or just follow me on Instagram and send me a message. I do my best to be, just very personable. My whole thing, even tying back to what we were saying earlier, is the simplification of even my life. I'm very aspirational. I have a lot of things I'm working towards and I want to accomplish. But at the essence is help people and have fun, have the most positive impact as possible, but feel fully connected. And not that I'm constantly grasping and reaching, that I'm enjoying every step of the way. And a lot of that comes from just connecting and serving in a way that's in alignment. And I've learned that through experience as well. So I'm very grateful. And I feel like I've been in this state of abundance where I'm just constantly manifesting people in my life where there's this synergy and harmony where, we can support each other, our visions are aligned, and this is how we make it fun.
I agree, and it is. It's almost like an adventure. Like you meet someone and you're like, oh, that just happened. It's like, oh, I can't make it up anymore. It just happens. Like my God. And that alignment piece is so key to that because when you're out of alignment, things find you too, right? Out of alignment, things find you. So when you're in your own alignment is when everything works, right? The reason we met was because we were receptive and we were aligned and like there's no, I hate selling anything. So I don't sell anything. I just offer things to people. And if it aligns with them, I say, great, let's get going. Let's move. I have an alignment arc program. That's my like signature thing where I take people through their own alignment journey so they can get fully aligned. And I only did that, Hamad, because I went through my journey. It wasn't like I learned alignment. It was like, no, I experienced it. And so there's key pieces along the way. And yeah, it's about having fun because this is fun for me. These conversations are fun because it's not a podcast recording. It's like a conversation where we had fun, we opened people's eyes up, and I have a new connection, a new friend, a new someone that's doing something on this planet that's helping raise consciousness, raise health and well-being, helping people heal one at a time. And to me, that is the fun. Like it's fun, like actually being in the healthcare world where we're literally in the precipice of changing the whole dynamic. Heal the healer within means the doctor is inside you. It's not on the outside. We have practitioners, we have these things that can help, but what we're essence of what we're talking about on this podcast and in this world is we can help the body heal. And it's all about you in the driver's seat. So awesome stuff. Amazing. Super excited to continue this process. I can't wait to learn more about those retreats and help guide people towards that if it aligns with them. We're building this Beyond the Pills community now in 26. So we have more conversations, more ways to engage with people doing fun things, and whether it's virtual or in person. I love in person. So this is the way of new healing model, I think. This is what we're doing. It's so much fun. So thanks for showing up today. Thanks for moving forward. I always end with this thing is like, if you could leave listeners with one message about embodiment, healing, things we've talked about today, what would it be?
I would say deep diaphragmatic breathing. So connect with your breath and be aware of where your body is in space. Simple as that. Just breathe fully. Think of a holistic expansion in your belly and rib cage. So inhalation, it all expands. Exhale, we draw inward. And then do a little check. Is my head on top of my shoulders? Where's my shoulder? We want neutral spinal alignment. And I think from an embodiment perspective, if we can just be connected with our breath and postural awareness, that is a great fundamental place to be. So whether you're seated, you're listening to this in a car, all it takes is just deep breath and, expand and sit up tall. And from there, we can go much deeper. But I think that that's simple. Anyone can do that anytime, any place.
And I love these tools that are so impactful and no cost. Did not cost you a penny to recenter your breath, go to that big diaphragmatic breath, breathe, hold, stay present. And it's super impactful, right? So these simple things do make a difference. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I just want to express gratitude to you for the work that you're doing, for the opportunity to come on here, and very much grateful to be aligned and looking forward to co-creating more as we grow.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Hamad. This has been awesome. I'm sure there'll be more things that we're going to adventure on. I definitely see a synergistic component of co-creating things together because of your zone of genius and how it interplays and the dynamic of the people that I love to co-create with. So this is not the end. This is just the beginning of the journey, my friend. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for what you're doing in this world. Thank you for your time today. Go check him out. He's got his website, www.coachshirazi.com. Check him out on Instagram. And we will see you on the other side.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Until next time, stay well. Thanks for joining me today on Beyond the Pills. If our mission to de-prescribe 10 million unnecessary medications resonates with you, share this episode, subscribe, and leave a review. Whether you're a practitioner or someone ready to reclaim your health, visit rx2wellness.com for free resources to begin your journey. Together, let's go beyond the pills and co-create a world of vibrant health and true healing. Until next time, live better and stay well.